Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to Scary Snapchat Stories. These will be Reddit stories that are about Snapchat and people's scary experiences on the app on Snapchat, and it'll just be spooky and scary, and I've always wanted to make this video, so yeah, stick around and there'll be some good stories. And also subscribe and like the video if you haven't already, because it's the channel's goal to be at 500,000 subscribers. So please help us reach that goal, and it would be awesome if you just joined the community. And all right, anyways, without further ado, let's get into some scary Snapchat stories. Creepy Snapchat guy. So I was about 13 to 14 when this happened. I've been in a really dark place mentally, and I met this guy through Tumblr. He told me his name was John, and he thought I was really pretty and ran a cool Tumblr. He used pictures of this super generic emo guy, and my tween heart was hooked. We talked for days and nights, and at one point I told him the town I lived in. Because my parents worked late, I'd get home from school and usually be by myself at home. And I'd sit in the living room, which had this big window facing the street. If you looked in, you could see the people and the TV and stuff. And I always kept the curtains open for light. So about 2 weeks after John and I were talking, I'd noticed this white sedan drive slowly past my house at least once a day, usually right after I got home from school. I also noticed that whenever I was watching something and texting John, he'd find a way to bring the show into the conversation. I didn't think much of it at first because usually it was shows I'd reblogged on my page before. That was until I started watching Pretty Little Liars on ABC Family. I hadn't posted or reblogged anything about the show, and then John started bringing it up, and I thought it was really weird. When I asked him about it, he said I just seemed like the type of girl who watched it, so I dropped the issue. Fast forward 2 weeks, and I'm with some friends at a nearby park. I wasn't having a good day, so we decided to hang out and do photo shoots or whatever. So we're walking around, and I turn my head, and boom, there's that white sedan. Except it's closer, and I can see the person in it. It's this older guy, maybe in his 20s, just watching us. I got really uncomfortable but didn't bring it up, and then my friend suggested we go to the playground, which is right next to this parking lot. But at this point, none of my friends knew about this issue, and I wanted to seem cool, so I went along with it. We dicked around on the playground for a bit when I noticed the guy in the white sedan get out of his car and walk towards us. My middle school brain is trying to rationalize that this can't be the same sedan that kept sitting outside and driving past my house. And maybe the guy was just watching his kid or something. I wish that were the case. I went over to the water fountain to grab a drink, and the guy comes up to me. Hi there. Hi. You're, he said my Tumblr handle, right? My blood went ice cold. Yeah. Who are you? He smiled at me, this really wide grin. I'm John. I came to see you in person. You told me the town you lived in and how you wished we could meet. Listen, I gotta get back to my friends. No, why don't we take a drive? We can go to McDonald's. He grabbed my arm at this point, and I think one of my friends had noticed this because she came up to us and the John guy released me and started to back up. Hey, Lizzie, Mom said we gotta head home. Dad's home and he had a long day. I nodded along and walked with her. My whole group of friends crowded me as we headed back to my house. I never told my parents what happened that day, and none of my friends did either. None of us wanted our Tumblrs exposed, and we thought we'd get in trouble for what happened, even though I was the only one at risk. When we got home, I blocked John and reported the encounter, thanking my friends for saving me. It's scary to think what could have happened if they hadn't been there, and I don't think the story would have had a happy ending. Alright, so I did just want to clear up a few things here about some of the stuff I've seen commented. 1. I ended up having a long talk with my mom about this situation, and while I didn't have any records of the Tumblr interactions, I did have the login to the Snapchat account I made to talk with him. Also just realized that while typing out the story, I never mentioned the Snapchat bit. We'll get to that later. She didn't think we'd get anywhere really with the police, but we went anyways. We filled out some paperwork, but the man we talked to said that because the account the stalker had used blocked me and I didn't have much other proof, as well as the friends at the time not being able to report as witnesses, there wasn't much they could do. There is a record of the incident, however. I posted this mid-breakdown because of a flash lag to the event and had to get out of it and forget to mention the Snapchat interactions. It was mostly the same as the Tumblr interactions, except I didn't hide my location on Snapchat. It showed my town, street name, etc. This is why the stalker was able to get so close to me so quickly. All my information was pretty much out there for the taking. Trust me, I'm on ghost mode and will forever be in ghost mode on Snapchat. Hope this cleared a few things up. Thanks for convincing me to go to the police. I hope I helped someone somewhere. I keep getting Snapchats from my boyfriend, but they're not from him. Normally, I'm not much of an app user. In fact, I had what my friends called a dumb phone up until about a year ago, until I got my new phone. I honestly never felt like I was missing out. As cool as my friends made Twitter, Instagram, and whatever an Angry Bird was sound, I always knew those things would take me away from the thing I really had to put my focus on, my studies and my sanity. So when I got my first iPhone last year, it was a pretty big deal to my friends. Once I had it, I quickly realized how cool the interface was and how truly useful it could be. For 2 weeks I went app crazy, though that eventually lost its pizzazz, until David and I started dating. By then I had gotten used to the smartphone world, and he, a tech nerd, was all about it. After a few months, he convinced me I needed to download Snapchat for funny conversations via Pixbabe. You can guess where it ended up. I didn't mind, however, since David and I had been going strong for a while, and I trusted him never to use any pictures against me. And over time, we began to use the app mostly for enjoyment and humor, for the most part. The first time it happened, I was walking out of the mall from work. I was on my phone, which I will admit I'm now a little bit addicted to. Angry Birds is addicting, and a Snapchat from David came in. It was blurry, but I could make out some of the ground and maybe a part of a car, assuming it was a mistake and nothing more. I thought little of it for the rest of the night until dinner. "Nice butt snap today, babe," I said with a wink. He looked up from his mac and cheese. "What are you talking about? Your butt snapped me a pic of the ground or something earlier? When I was leaving work at the mall, I couldn't tell what it was, but it looked like a mistake." David looked a bit confused and went back to eating. When I asked him what was up, all he said was, "Must have been a software issue," and went back to his food. As a serious techie, he takes any accidents he has with his devices super personal. I let it go, and we went back to our normal routine. For a few days, all snaps were of the usual fodder: good-looking food, ridiculous selfie faces, and a few NSFW messages thrown in for old time's sake. A few days later, as I was walking out of work, my phone buzzed. I was crossing the parking lot when I clicked the screen on and saw the notification from David. The snap lasted only 3 seconds and was blurry, but looked like a very pixelated and zoomed in picture of a person, maybe with blonde hair. I thought it was strange, so I took a selfie and snapped him back. "What was that?" I received a reply almost immediately of David's face, only it was kind of distorted and weird. In fact, I could barely tell it was him because of the lighting. I figured it was some kind of weird filter, or the fact that he seemed to have a bright light on behind him, but his face was completely shadowed in a silhouette. Almost immediately, I received another from him, this time clearly of his face with a confused expression. Taken at that kind of angle, a picture is taken without letting your coworkers know you're taking a selfie. Then another came in. This one was a bit more zoomed out. It was of a petite blonde girl walking in a parking lot. It took me about 10 seconds to realize that girl in the picture was me. I had no idea how David did it, but I was honestly impressed. Startled at first, but impressed. I snapped back a kissy face with a heart emoji. David snapped back from work with seemingly confused look on his face. I looked around the parking lot, but it was basically empty. He was nowhere in sight. "How are you doing that?" I sent back, given my ridiculous selfie face imaginable. "Doing what?" he sent back on another yet low-key work selfie. I got in the car thinking little of it and went home to make some lunch. Now we live in a very close outskirts of a big city, so our apartment is very packed into a surrounded neighborhood. We drew the short straw when we moved in and didn't get a parking space, so we have to park on the street. Even though it was midday on a Tuesday, there are no spots near my house. I had to park a few blocks away and walk. As I walked, naturally I played with my phone. Even though it was broad daylight and I lived in a nice neighborhood, eyes on your phone or ground are an easy way to keep from making eye contact with any creepy guys potentially hanging around the street. I texted a few of my friends about weekend plans when another Snapchat came in from David. This time, it was of me getting out of my car. I stopped and looked around, figuring he must have been hiding somewhere. He's a total nerd like that. After a few moments, the breeze got too cold and I figured he'd meet me inside eventually. "You'll freeze out here, nerd," I said lovingly, and walked towards my house. I continued walking down the street and another notification popped up. 2 new snaps. I opened the first snap and it was of my kitchen table with a large pot, jarred sauce, and a box of rigatoni. "Pasta for dinner?" it said. I replied with a smile and I said, "Sure," smiley face, and kept walking. The second snap played. It was of his weird silhouetted face again. The caption said, "I am not cold." A new Snapchat notification popped up. This one of me walking down the street just moments before. The caption was simple. "I like you." I replied thinking it was David with a snap of my face and quite generously the low-cut skirt beneath it with an "I like you too." He sent another back of him in my kitchen with the cat taunting him with a rigatoni. A moment later, a second snap came in of a black screen with a giant emoji with a huge smile face on it. I had to admit, however he was sending these snaps was really quite impressive. I'd have to ask him tonight how he did it. When I got into the house, I saw him cooking and didn't have time to ask him how he played his pranks. The water was over boiling, the sauce way too hot, and he was looking as lost as ever in front of the stove. He's a shitty cook, but he tries, so I love him for it. I jumped in. I got swept up in making dinner and forgot to ask again about his pranks until he stopped for a moment to run to the bathroom. I heard the door click and my phone chime. A snap of me cooking popped onto the screen. "You are so pretty," it said. I just smiled and put my phone down. When he got out of the bathroom, dinner was ready and I told him to grab a plate. We served ourselves and began to talk about our days. "So, how do you keep doing those snaps?" I said. "And how did you take those pictures of me leaving work?" "What are you talking about?" I explained again the pictures he sent, and he looked confused, denying the whole thing. He's always had that nerdy, awkward sense of humor, and it wouldn't be the first time I had ruined a joke or surprise too early, so I just smiled and changed the conversation. He even played up the awkward reserved part the entire time too, as if my questioning had truly confused him. This was the most intricate prank he had played to date. Throughout the night, I got a few more from his account when I wasn't paying attention. He must have sneakily gotten the pictures when he crossed the room on occasion. For the most part, he was busy at his computer, working on a program he and his friends were building, and I was sitting on the couch reading. I thought little of it, and quietly enjoyed the fact that, for the first time in a few months, he was being pretty forward and flirty. I liked being noticed. That was until we went to bed. I figured since he had been sending me all those weird messages to get my attention, he wanted all of my attention. But when the lights went out, he kissed me goodnight, rolled over, and started snoring. Almost immediately, my phone buzzed. A Snapchat popped up of me from earlier, walking from the car. A second was of me in the car, and the caption, "I am always watching." The third was of me sitting in my living room reading, only I realized the angle was off. It was taken up high, as if from the top corner of the room. The only caption was a heart emoji. The fourth was of me in my car. During a quick moment, I had picked my nose. "Always," it said. I needed to know how the fuck he did this. It was going beyond cute and funny and now a little creepy. Most importantly, how did he get that shot of me in the car earlier? I was alone. Did he have a fucking hidden camera installed on my dash? This is going a bit too far for a cute prank. I went to check his phone to see if he had some weird app installed, but it was powered off. A little annoyed, I woke him up and started yelling at him. He, as most sleeping people would do, woke up confused and annoyed and answered with a sleepy, "Yes, dear, we'll take care of it tomorrow," and just turned over and went to bed, immediately regaining his snoring tempo. A new snap came in, and I shoved the phone in his face, but he didn't want to wake. This one was of me reading a few hours earlier, only it was an ultra close-up. There was no way a hidden camera could have taken it. The space in front of my couch is completely wide open, and this was taken at eye level, maybe 2 feet from my face. "I like you," it said. A chill went down my spine, almost too terrified to answer. I turned the camera on, off my phone. I put the Snapchat to selfie and turned the flash on. The bright flash was the only light in my nearby pitch black room and illuminated my face and the room around me for a split second. Who the fuck is this? I captioned the photograph. Nothing. I took another with my flash. Seriously, who is this? A new snap came in of a black screen with a large smile emoji on it. I'm a friend, it said. How the fuck are you doing this? Nothing. I sent one more back, the flash on my phone illuminating my face and messy bedroom room for a split second. Why are you doing this? No answer. I sent back another. Please stop. A message of a black screen with a giant sad face emoji came back. I am sorry. I sent back another. Please go away. After a moment, another notification popped up. Another black screen with an unsure face emoji and caption. I am sorry, Sasha, but I cannot do that. I sent one last reply. A single word. Why? A few moments passed. My phone buzzed with a Snapchat notification. I opened it and my blood ran cold. The snap displayed a picture that took me a second to comprehend. There, in the center of the screen was a girl. Me, sitting in my bed. My face, in the picture, just barely illuminated by the flash of my phone from the picture I had taken just moments before. I could see David sleeping next to me, and our cat lying lazily off in the corner. The picture had been taken from not 5 feet away. Before I ever had a chance to scream, I felt a cold whisper in my ear. Because I really like you. Do not ever go on Snapchat. Names are changed in order to protect those involved with the story. It's been a few months since my life has gone back to normal. Currently, I do not feel safe anywhere. I used to dorm at my college, but I had to go back home during the second semester due to strange occurrences happening there. I do not plan on dorming anytime soon. It might not be the smartest thing to share this since it's still under investigation, but maybe it will make some people more cautious of social networking. It sure has made me wary of trusting strangers online again. November of last year was when the messages first appeared. Ever heard of Snapchat before? For those of you who don't know what Snapchat is, it's an app that lets you send pictures, messages to your friends, but they only last for a couple of seconds. Once those seconds are up, the picture disappears forever, meaning you can never see them again. You can only send pictures you take in the moment, and they can only be seen for the few seconds you time them. You can also draw and write text on the pictures. You can even send videos. I never really knew about Snapchat until I was introduced to it by my friends. They practically encouraged me to download it, and being the weak-willed person I am, I gave in to the peer pressure. It seemed kind of fun at first. I was taking pictures and sending them like crazy. Most of the time I just took pictures of myself, making the goofiest faces, and putting random letters on text. I also went out of my way to take pictures of the funniest things. I remember taking a picture of this dude's butt crack while he bent down to tie his shoes. Yeah, it was sick, but downright hilarious. There were a lot of people who added me as a friend on Snapchat. Most of them came from Facebook or the contact list on my phone. This also included some people I didn't know too well, but they still sent me pictures either way, and it was actually pretty nice. I guess Snapchat made it easier to break the ice with people I randomly added or haven't seen in a while. One day in November, someone called WeAre1_forever added me on Snapchat. At the moment, I didn't think too much of it. I figured it was just one of my Facebook friends. Instantly, the first message this person sent me was a paper with Sharpied handwriting on it and a heart drawn underneath it. It read, "Hey cutie, how are you?" Once 4 seconds had passed, the message had disappeared. I was flattered by the fact that whoever this person was referred to me as a cutie. I'm guessing it was probably a girl flirting with me a little bit. I sent her back a picture of me with my eyebrow raised and a smirk on my face. After that, I added the text, "I'm doing good. Do you think I'm a cutie?" And then sent it to her for 5 seconds. About a minute later, I got another picture from her. The picture was a teddy bear carrying a red heart with a white backdrop. The text read, "You're on my top 5. Right away, I wanted to know who this person was. For the next couple of days, that we didn't message each other. She never sent me pictures of herself for some reason. She wouldn't even tell me her name. I kept pushing her to send me a picture, but she always made excuses or sent stupidly drawn stick figures instead. With that, I believe that she was either really ugly or really shy, and I was hoping for the latter. I decided to let it go, thinking that she must be really into me if she's that secretive with revealing her face and even her name. One day while I was in the library, I checked Snapchat real quick while I was taking a break from typing a paper for one of my courses. Sure enough, there was a message from We Are One Forever. As soon as my finger tapped it open, I almost jumped out of my seat. She sent me a picture of a person. The first time she'd done so, but that's not what all got me bothered about this picture. I knew that the picture of this person definitely wasn't her. In fact, it was a guy sitting on a couch. White shirt, blue sweatpants, looking straight into a laptop. Bookshelves in the background. The text read, "I see you." I looked behind it and around me. There was no one who seemed suspicious, just a bunch of college kids in their own little worlds. Still, I didn't want to read too much about it. After all, why psych myself out from something that seemed like harmless flirting? I sent her a picture of me with this confused look on my face and typed out, "I don't see you. Why didn't you say hi?" The next picture she sent me was of a poster of my college mascot with the text, "I was so nervous. You're just too cute." From how I saw it, it just seemed like I had a secret admirer who possibly went to the same college. I sent her a message asking, "So you go to college name too?" She never answered my question, even though she opened my message. Things just got weirder after the small incident. A couple of times she sent pictures of me walking in lecture halls, eating in the cafe, making lines for food, and even talking to my friends. I don't remember all the texts, but there were some of that stood out to me, like, "I see you everywhere. It's so funny how close I am to you. And one day you'll know who I am." I started to think my friends might have been playing a joke on me. I asked my best friend Andrew one day if he was the one sending me all those weird Snapchats. He told me he had no idea what I was talking about and explained to him the whole thing. That this person called We Are One Forever had been sending Snapchats of me. Andrew said that was pretty creepy and that I must have some obsessive stalker who obviously had no life. I was secretly hoping he was the one behind all of it, but I knew he was telling the truth. We Are One Forever doesn't have the same handwriting Andrew has. Besides, dude can't lie his way out of a paper bag. After talking to Andrew, I asked all my other friends about it, and they also told me the same answer. Either it really wasn't them, or they were playing an elaborate mindfuck on me. One of them had to come clean, but no one ever did. And the Snapchats were getting a little too eerie. My secret admirer started sending pictures of only me and nothing else. She rarely added text on them anymore. It was like she was playing Where's Waldo with me, and oddly enough, I was Waldo. It became her mission to send a picture of me at least once a day. I began to pay more attention to my surroundings, but the only people I see every day were my friends. I never saw the same face everywhere I went. I figured my friends had to be the ones messaging with me. Eventually, I stopped sending messages to We Are One Forever, thinking it was best to ignore and pretend like it didn't bother me, if I were them. I didn't mention the messages anymore, and I even stopped opening them. They just kept piling on whenever I went on Snapchat. The fall semester was almost over at that time. December came, followed by colder days and nights loaded with college assignments, projects, and final exams. Even though all of this sounded intimidating, I was a little relieved, to be honest. It gave me the excuse to focus all my attention on something more important than those messages. And yet, whenever I looked at my phone for the time or a new text message, I always saw a notification from Snapchat. We Are One Forever sent you a message. After a week of ignoring them, I finally let my curiosity get the best of me. Once I started opening one, I saw a picture of me, but when I blinked, it was already gone. I opened another message. Me again, but it disappeared as fast as the last one. As I opened these messages one by one, I could feel my heart sink deeper and deeper with each message. They're all pictures of me all over campus. I couldn't even fathom as how this person was able to follow me from one place to another. She even took pictures of me during lectures and when I came out of bathrooms. That day, I decided to stay in my dorm since I was starting to become paranoid. My roommate, John Michael, wasn't there for most of the time. Some of my friends were texting me to join them for lunch, but I was in no mood to come out and show myself to my secret admirer. She seemed to know where I was every single time. To avoid my chances of being another Snapchat message, I only came out that day to buy myself a sandwich. When I looked at my phone a few times, I was pleasantly surprised at the lack of Snapchat notifications from her. I was able to breathe normally again, even though part of me was still worried about going out. After all, I couldn't just stay trapped in my dorm room every day. I had classes to be in, friends to hang out with, and parties I wanted to go to before the semester ended. That night, I couldn't really sleep. I actually felt more alive that moment than I did the whole day. It was impossible for me to go to sleep when I had a million thoughts racing through my mind. Unsurprisingly, all those thoughts were related to those damned Snapchat messages. Finally, I fell asleep for what felt like hours, looking at the darkness. The next morning, I woke up tired and not in the greatest of moods. I checked my phone to see the time. It was 12 in the afternoon. Out of habit, I also checked Snapchat for any new messages I could have received. The more recent messages were from We Are One Forever. Her messages took up all of my Snapchat. It had to be almost 50 she sent me. Seeing her username alone made my body tremble with morbid curiosity. Before I opened the messages, I noticed something was off about them right away. She sent me videos in the more recent Snapchats, which is something that never happened before. Also, the time she sent me these messages was about 6 hours ago. It made me extremely hesitant to open any of them, but something inside me was demanding me to do it. She had to be taking pictures of something else that night. I was in bed the whole time. However, once I opened her first message, I could not believe with my own eyes, and even though for that second I was going insane. I wanted to scream. Immediately, I regretted my decision of ever opening that message. Just thinking about it right now gives me chills alone. At first, I couldn't make out what the picture was. It seemed dark, but she must have enabled the flash option because there was a bright light illuminating the subject of the picture. Even though the picture was only for a second, I was able to make out what was in the second and third picture. By the 20th picture, my eyes confirmed it was someone laying in bed. It made my heart beat unnervingly faster. Those were the most horrifying seconds of my life. As I kept opening these messages, they were the same pictures of someone sleeping. The more recent messages became closer and closer views of the person. The closer they were, the more they confirmed my fears about the person in the picture. In the videos. Oh God. The fucking videos. They may have been only 5 videos, but they showed uncomfortable close-ups of that person's face in the glowing flashlight. And then there were the typical noisy silence audio in the background and my own sleeping face. It broke me down as I immediately dialed my college's police department, told them someone broke into my room last night, that I was being stalked by someone I didn't know who was also sending me pictures of myself. Tried to explain as much as I could, but they couldn't even understand what I was saying because I sounded like a complete mess. They came over to check up on my dorm room, observe any forcible entry that could have taken place, and even question my roommate for an hour. I showed them my Snapchat to prove the multiple messages the person was sending me. Unfortunately, they couldn't retrieve them and see the actual pictures. I told my parents about it a week later. They wanted to pick me up as soon as possible, even though finals were coming up. After I was finished, though, I went back home and the messages had stopped for a while. I didn't see anything from We Are One Forever for the second semester of college. The police are still trying to find out the perpetrator and are currently trying to contact the makers of Snapchat to retrieve those terrifying pictures. At that time, my life was going back to normal, and yeah, I was still using Snapchat just for the innocent fun of it. The last days of the semester, though, became a different story altogether. It was a typical Friday, and I was home alone, watching TV, and chowing down on snacks. I just completed the last of my finals, so I was treating myself after all that stress from college, and especially from that slightly traumatizing situation. But that all changed once my phone began to vibrate. This whole wave of dizziness took over me as I read what was on screen. We Are One Forever sent you a message. I was conflicted with what to do at that moment, and maybe I shouldn't have opened the message. Maybe I should have just deleted Snapchat from my phone and saved myself the trouble. Because when I did open that message, I was clearly met with the image of my house in broad daylight. Not just my whole house, but specifically the view of the kitchen window. The picture only lasted for 5 seconds, and it was kind of hard to see due to its grainy quality. Yet, it was noticeable enough to detect my own self sitting by the table, eating my cereal in the morning, looking outside the window at what I remembered to be particularly nothing at all. Update. I've noticed lots of you have questions regarding creating screenshots saving the Snapchats. I couldn't screenshot them before because I don't have the immediate, quote, press 2 buttons option on my screen. I have to tap a little white circle that opens up certain functions, one of them to screenshot. However, it's really hard for me to do that and to keep the Snapchat open at the same time since you have to keep pressing it back. Back then, I also wasn't aware of apps that can save Snapchats. When I finally was able to download Snap Save, it was during early summer. I was too late and We Are Forever wasn't sending me Snapchats anymore. Update 2. Some of you requested proof for those dreadful pictures. I can't show them to you because 1, about 99% of them are corrupted, the ones that show me at least, and 2, they're considered evidence for an ongoing investigation. The only picture I can show is a screenshot of We Are One Forever on my friends list. There are those of you asking why I haven't deleted my Snapchat yet. This person obviously knows what college I go to and where I live. We have to bust him, her, whoever, so I can actually feel safe again. If I just deleted or blocked him, her, or whoever, then I won't ever know who's stalking me. They could even cause unspeakable harm to me. But it might not happen if their whack job selves are in jail. Creepy person on Snapchat. A few months ago, I was quick added on Snapchat by some girl who had a normal looking Bitmoji and was fairly new to the Snapchat. Her snap score was only about 400 or 500. I accepted the request since I could always use some more friends and some more streaks, and she almost immediately texted me. Despite the request being about 6 hours old when I first saw it, she texted me, "Hey cutie, what's up?" I was a bit confused by this message, as she had never seen my picture of me yet, and Bitmojis aren't necessarily accurate. I just replied, "Hello," and the conversation continued on as normal for about 10 to 15 minutes. Eventually, she sent a picture of herself. I was a little surprised by it, as she looked exactly like one of my girlfriend's friends that I had met on a night out one time. I simply dismissed it as being coincidental. People often have someone who looks similar to themselves. She requested a picture of myself and I just sent her a simple selfie of me. Again, she referred to me as being cute, but it wasn't as weird this time because now she had actually seen me. I just thought of it as her being nice. She started flirting with me even after I brought up how I had a girlfriend. She would say stuff like, "I wish you didn't have a girlfriend. You seem so sweet and cute," and "the color of your eyes is making my heart flush." She would even get sexually explicit with some of her compliments. Out of nowhere, she sends me 2 more selfies of her. This time, they were 2 pictures of other women I'd only met once or twice in my life. One of them was my girlfriend's other friend, and another was an old classmate of mine from 8th grade. Assuming it was my girlfriend doing some stupid loyalty test to me, I just said to her, "Nice try, Aurora." Not my girl's real name. "You should know after 2 years of dating, I'd never cheat on you." After I said this, she sent me a picture of yet another girl I hardly knew and said, "Who the fuck is Aurora?" Freaked out a bit now, I asked who this really was. She got really pissy with me, saying how every new person she meets accuses her of being a catfish because she always looks like somebody they know. I asked her if she had more pictures of herself, just to see if I'm not losing my mind. She sends me 5 more, each of yet another girl I knew. This time some of them were a bit closer to me. I asked her where she got the pictures from, and she was still insistent of them just being of her, and promising she isn't a catfish. After about 10 minutes of me pressuring the catfish into giving up, she sent me a heart-chilling snap. It was a picture of the front of my old house, where I moved away from about 3 to 4 years ago, before this incident. It was taken at the same time of day as this conversation was happening, so I assumed she had taken it at that very moment. I now knew it couldn't be my girlfriend just being creepy, as we weren't dating when I lived there, nor did she even know about me living there. I figured it was a friend of mine just playing some sick prank with an alt account. But some of the photos they used were of girls that they didn't know about my acquaintances with. She followed it up with several pictures of another girl. This time they weren't just normal selfies or group photos. They were candid shots of nobody other than my girlfriend. Some of them were of her sitting at stoplights in her car. Others were of her walking into the school we go to. My heart dropped. I blocked the person immediately and phoned my girlfriend to tell her of the situation. She assured me that it wasn't her or one of her friends doing some kind of prank or loyalty test, and that she didn't know somebody had been taking photos of her. I haven't been added by anyone similar of nature or heard of that account ever again. I still have no idea who was actually behind it. My friends that I or Aurora still had contact with have since privated their Instagram accounts. which is where the pictures the account sent me came from. And my girlfriend and I have disabled our Snap Maps to everybody, including our close friends. I still want to believe this was some sort of sick prank from one of my best friends or something, and not just some genuinely creepy person who is stalking me and my girlfriend. How Snapchat almost got me killed. I used to work at a grocery store cashier in a small town with a population of less than 1,000 people. The store was about 30 miles from where I lived, deep in the mountains, and it was a Sunday night, so most of the employees were already gone, and it was just my time to leave. I needed to grab a couple of things from the store, so I did, and I was about to check out. But before I left, I decided to head to the liquor store section and grab me and my friend a nice bottle of our favorite wine to relax after a long day's work and a long drive home. As I was standing in line to check out, there was a man behind me, like right behind me. I could literally feel him breathing down my neck and can smell his cologne, which honestly smelled really great, but I could feel him literally right behind me. So I turned around and said, "Excuse me, am I in your way or something?" He laughed and apologized as he said, "I was just trying to grab the candy bar that was next to you. I'm sorry if I scared you." I told him that it was alright and kind of laughed it off. I passed him the candy bar, which just so happened to be my favorite candy bar. I made some sort of comment about it, and we got to talking about the silly thing, and next thing you know, he asked for my Snapchat, and I thought to myself, he smelled good, made me laugh, has my favorite chocolate bar, what's the worst that could happen? That night I made probably the worst decision I've ever made in my life, and that was giving this man my name. We exchanged usernames and what I thought were real names, and I continued checking out. As I'm walking to my car to load my wine and groceries, I noticed him walk out of the store with absolutely nothing, and I thought that was really strange. No chocolate bar, no bags, nothing. Which should have been a red flag. As I pull into my driveway, I get a Snapchat request from that guy 88, who I assumed to be him. I decide I would pop a bottle of wine open first just to unwind and relax after a long day before responding. I actually didn't respond to his request for about 2 hours after me and my roommate, Ava, killed a bottle of wine and half a block of cheese and crackers. When Ava finally went to take a shower, I went to accept the request. It was gone. I refreshed the app maybe 4 or 5 times thinking it was a bug and it would pop back up, but there was nothing. I shrugged it off and thought really nothing of it and went on doing what I was doing. After all that wine, I ended up knocking out on the couch with the TV and lights still on. After sleeping for what seemed like hours and seeing the sun glaring into the living room, I reached for my phone to check the time. There it was again. Snapchat request from that guy 88. I immediately accepted it and got a message from him saying, "Wow, can't accept a man's friend request." Honestly, at the time I took what he said as a joke, but now that I look back at it, he wasn't kidding around at all. So I replied with, "Haha, sorry about that. I went home and knocked right out on my bed." His response was, "I don't like liars." And with it was something that has given me nightmares ever since. It was a picture of me asleep on my couch in front of the TV. It was timestamped at around 3 a.m. He said, "I'll see you real soon." I woke up my roommate Ava and explained everything that happened to her, and she strongly suggested we went to the police. We made a report, but there was nothing they or we could really do. We weren't even sure that the name he gave me was actually his name, so we didn't really have anything to go off of. They suggested to us that this was all a joke and that we would just be fine, and to make sure all doors were locked. But I didn't really feel like it was a joke. This was real. Someone followed me to my home from the store without me noticing and was taking pictures of me from outside. To me, this shit was as serious as it gets. That night, me and Ava locked our doors and decided to just be bunkmates for the night. It took me hours to fall asleep, but when I finally did, all seemed well. Woke up, made some coffee, noticed Ava had left earlier than usual for work. No new notifications on the phone, especially Snapchat. Thought maybe it was just a joke gone too far, and maybe whoever that guy was, he must have given up on the joke. I stepped outside the front door to enjoy looking out into the trees when I stepped on something. I took my foot off whatever it was and jolted back inside and slammed the door shut. I've never been that scared before in my entire life. There it was, on my front porch, in front of my door. My favorite chocolate bar. I threw the deadbolt on and peeked through the blinds, just staring into the tree line to see if he was anywhere still out there. I did that for about 20 minutes with dead silence. I wanted to call the police, but they would just laugh at me if I told them that someone left a chocolate bar in my front of my door. They wouldn't understand. I was freaking out, so I called Ava. It rang, and at the same time I could hear ringing and vibrations from upstairs. I took my phone off my ear and just listened to it. Ava's phone was ringing upstairs, but last I checked, she wasn't in her room. I crept up the stairs and slowly opened Ava's door. Her room was empty, but her phone was on her dresser. Did she leave her phone? I thought to myself. Then I got a Snapchat notification on my phone. It was from That Guy 88. A picture of Ava's lifeless body in a shallow grave, bounded with a sign over her neck that said liar. I collapsed on the ground with my phone in my hands, just staring at her. I couldn't believe this crazy man had actually killed her. He really murdered Ava over someone he didn't even know. I went to call 911 when I got another Snapchat notification. It was from him again, only this time it was a picture of my front door opened. I slammed Ava's door and locked it and called the police. I told them my friend was murdered and that the murderer was potentially still in my house. But being I lived around 30 miles from anywhere I knew, it would take some time for them to get here. I hear a door slam downstairs, so I try to get Ava's room window open so I could go on the roof, jump off the second-story balcony onto our one-story garage, jump off the garage and make my way into the forest and cross through it till I see help on the road. I struggle to get Ava's window open. I'm banging on this damn window to budge, which probably gave away my position in the house because I heard him jolting straight upstairs and banging on the doors over and over again. I finally get the window open at the same time he breaks the door down. I slid off the roof onto the garage and fractured my elbow, but with all the adrenaline I just started to run. As I'm running through the trees away from the house, I hear these loud pops, and it finally clicked that he was shooting at me from Ava's window. After about the fifth pop, I felt a warm, burning sensation in the back of my thigh and felt the warm wetness of blood dripping down my leg into my shoe. I just kept running. All I kept thinking about was staying alive in Ava. My poor sweet friend Ava, who lost her life all because I gave this man my Snapchat name. She deserved to live, not me. This was my fault. I ran into the tree line by the road and just waited. For about 15 minutes, I waited, watching the roads and listening for any sign of help almost here. From the blood loss and me freaking out, I almost passed out from it all. I hear a vehicle coming down the dirt road in the distance, but before I jump out into the road from my hiding place, I kept getting nervous. It was him still around, so I waited. Sure enough, I see the same black Bronco truck the man got into at the grocery store pull up. There he was, driving slow, with his head out the window, looking back and forth throughout the tree line. For about 5 minutes, he was doing circles looking for me. I kept looking at his face details because if I did make it out alive, this son of a bitch was going to pay for what he did. A few moments later, I could hear sirens in the distance, very faint because sound travels through the mountains out here, but it was loud enough for him to hear because he floored the pedal and took off. I waited till I saw emergency vehicle lights and made my way limping in the middle of the road. The police saw me and pulled over right away to help. They rushed me to the hospital as quickly as possible because of the gunshot wound. I survived with a gunshot wound that just passed by a nearby artery. Police showed up the next day at the hospital and got down on my statement. They had found Ava's body in the shallow grave that I had seen in the picture just in the tree line of my backyard. He had taken her in the middle of the night and strangled her. They tried to track down the Snapchat account, but it was deleted and fake information was given to make the account after Snapchat released the account information over to the authorities. They also found a phone in Ava's room, not hers, but someone else's. It ended up being a prepaid phone, so they couldn't trace any information on it, but they needed to tell me because there were thousands of pictures collected on the phone from the past 2 years. Pictures of me and Ava sitting on our couches, having dinner, sleeping, shopping at grocery stores. It was even enough to freak the detective out. They had no clue who this man was or where he was, and that absolutely terrified me. After the hospital, I ended up moving from the countryside back to the city with my mother in New York. I feel safer here and around people. It's been 2 years now and I feel like things have been getting a lot better, and I think about Ava every day and try to live for her. Until yesterday, I got a friend request notification on my phone from a Snapchat user, That Guy 89. And all right, guys, thank you so much for watching this whole entire video. I mean, you've watched to the end, so W. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe, or don't, but it helps the channel a lot if you do like and subscribe. But just thank you so much for watching. And all right, until next time, see ya.